want to call to order and welcome everyone to the regular council meeting, Monday, October 18th, 2021. We're going to start with the acknowledgement, treaties and peace and friendship. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq peoples. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which Wolastoqiyik, Mi'kmaq, and Passamaquoddy peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1726. The treaties did not deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. Thank you. Well, not yet? Okay. Just let me know. Okay, I want to call the meeting to order and to welcome everyone to the regular council meeting of Monday, October 18th, 2021. We'll begin with the acknowledgement. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq peoples. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, and Wolastoqiyik, Mi'kmaq, and Passamaquoddy peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1726. The treaties did not deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. Thank you. Well, we'll now move to the reaffirmation of the oath of office. We do hereby accept the office of council and will diligently, faithfully, and impartially discharge to the best of our ability the duties of the office as may be imposed upon us by law. Thank you. Now the moment of reflection for deaths in the area since we last had a regular meeting. Ada Lawler of Baldoon, Benoit Corrier of Lorne, Wendell McCormick of Black Point, Claude Moore of Benjamin, and Eleanor McNair Brown, formerly of Jacket River. Can we have a moment of silence, please? Thank you. So we are now going to move to the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions or amended with changes to the agenda, to the present agenda.
I would like to add one, if I can, may, Your Worship, concerning signage on Turgeon and Jacket River Drive.
Okay, duly noted. Are there any amendments or changes or deletions other than the one presented by Deputy Mayor Burke? Okay, can we have a mover for the newly adopted agenda?
I move that the agenda is adopted with the amendment, with changes.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
On the question, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the agenda is adopted with the additions, changes. Okay, next we move to the statements of conflict of interest. Is there anyone who needs to acknowledge a conflict of interest? Okay, doesn't seem to be, so we'll move on to the adoption of the minutes. So for the minutes of the Committee of Whole meetings from September 7th, 14th, and the 27th of 2021, and the regular meeting of September 20th, 2021, do we have any changes that need to be, that are asked to be adopted, or are we satisfied with the adoption of the minutes as they are? Do we have a mover then for the adoption of the minutes?
I move that the minutes of the Committee of Whole Council meetings September 7th, 14th, and 27th, 2021, and regular meeting of September 20th, 2021 be adopted as presented.
Do you have a seconder?
I'll second it.
On the question, all those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, say nay. It's supported, it's passed. The next is the presentations, petitions, and delegations.
I had some business arising from the minutes, Worship.
You did, sorry about that for overlooking that, Deputy Mayor Burke, go ahead.
Two areas that I'd like council to look at. The first one has to do with at our last regular meeting, there was a motion on the table about a grant for Antiques Plus. That motion was tabled. After the meeting, it was asked that that the request for a grant be withdrawn. So I would like to bring that motion back to the table so that it can be rescinded from the books.
Okay, so that will be added in order to be rescinded.
The second item has to do with, at our Committee of the Whole meeting, I had made a comment about the signage that was outside here, that it was requested that maybe we needed some signage to identify here in, at our building. So I don't know if council want to move that forward to budget time, or they want a motion dealing with that or whatever, but personally, I would like to see a motion that says that, you know, we have an architect's design drawn up for a sign for the front of our building here or at the road, so that we either identify them or we can that. So I'm not sure where council wants to go with it, or maybe they prefer to just deal with it in the 2022 budget. But one way or the other, the minutes had stated that I would bring a motion forward, and I just want to complete that commitment. So I'd like some direction as to where council would like to go with that, or where they wish me to take it.
Are there any objections to Deputy Mayor Burke bringing that forward for a motion? Do we have any objections to that?
No objection, but I just have a comment to make onto it. I'm in agreement totally that we need signage here. My preference, myself personally, I'd like to see signage out by the road rather than up against on the building. So that's something that I would be all for, and I think regardless to whether we do it with this budget or the next budget, it's inevitable that it needs to be done, so, yeah.
Okay, well, let's,
Your worship, excuse me. After that last meeting, I went and contacted a sign company that did a few in the area. And we're gonna have to have an idea of what you want to spend on this, because they can run from, you know, $2,000 up to really expensive. So I need to have sort of a guideline, but I can get a couple of estimates for you and show you what the signs look like from, there's a guy by the name that did some in Bathurst for, but we'd probably have to put it out to tender, but anyway. I'll get those for you within the next week and a half.
That's acceptable for
no,
me.
well, let's do this then. Let's have CO Ferguson do that groundwork. Then perhaps we can bring it back for the committee of whole.
Okay.
And then in November, we'll deal with it.
Yep.
If we have some numbers.
And can you ensure that in one of those estimates that it's a sign where, like what I'm envisioning is like, it's two legs and then, so for example, if somebody rents in the other space, there's a place for each business to have their sign that can be interchanged if a business changes?
Yes, 100%. That's kind of the sign I was looking at. They have
Okay.
one at the waterfront in downtown Bathurst, which is quite big, but it has room for signs about this for everybody who's in the building, and they're removable. You can go back on, so that's what I was looking at with Al's signs, but I certainly will take note of that.
Any other comments or observations? Okay, let's do it.
I have one. At one of the committee of whole meetings, we discussed the variance on the building for Antiques Plus. So I don't know what the formal process for that is, but it's something that I think needs to be pursued, either on their behalf by council or whatever the process is.
It's
When did
it's
this
already
start?
begun. I requested the variance to the planning commission
Okay,
for them, and there's another one I took to, I think, with regards to rezoning of land, that's farmland mixed, which was asked kind of by the class, so it's now in their hands and Yvonne's hands, so.
okay, but for Antiques Plus, it's not a rezone
No,
request?
it's a variance,
Okay.
yes, yep.
Okay, thank you.
And I did speak with the owner too on that last week. Yep.
Okay, so we'll move forward then to, if there are no presentations, petitions, or delegations. So just before we begin the statements by members of council, just a reminder, we do have a pretty heavy agenda this evening, so I'll try to keep it as much as I can if council members just bear with me. That will, for most of these, everybody will have a chance to speak. And then we'll let the last person who's bringing the motion forward finish it. And then we'll move on to the vote. Okay, so let's start with Deputy Mayor Burke.
First one I'm looking at here still comes down to Mitchell Road and Lawler Road, the intersection. You know, we threw that around and, you know, it basically, I guess, got tabled. So I'd like to bring it back for discussion. You know, I look at the Lawler Road and I say it this way. I know council, you know, is looking at, for example, the Rorty Road, and we're looking at spending somewhere like $80,000 asphalting that road. And when I look at spending that kind of money on Rorty Road, that is used 30 to, 40% of the time because it's a seasonal road. And then when I look at the Lawler Mitchell Road intersection, which is used 100% of the time, all winter long and through the summer, that it is a very dangerous and hazardous spot. So I'd like council to reconsider in the sense of saying that, I recognize that both projects carry importance, that type of thing. But at the end of the day, we still need to evaluate, that roads, especially roads that are not as safe as they should be considered a priority. And personally, I do consider this a priority. So with that said, I'd like to bring it back to the table and put it out there for a motion.
Okay, any comments adding on to Deputy Mayor Burke's comments? Okay,
Oh, I have one. I was just wondering, were you on council the last time the work was done on that road?
Rorty Road?
No, the
Oh.
Lawler Road?
No.
No. And I'm just wondering, do you recall what it used to be like before they did that last work? How there was a way that you could get from the Lawler Road onto the Mitchell Road going toward Jacket, like there was kind of like a Y in the road? Do you remember when it was like that? 'Cause
I do know that they raised the level of the road, like, it's much higher now than it was, say, 10 years ago. You know, that's what the last project, I believe, did, was raise the road so that the turn wasn't as aggressive. And if I look at the work on this, I believe that's about where they're looking at also, is kind of trying to get the grade of the road so that's not as aggressive.
So they've done that previously and it didn't fix the problem, so they want to try doing the same thing again?
Well, at the end of the day, it comes down to, if you want to do if you want to do it right, that costs money. So the project was approved to, and I wasn't on that council, so I'm reading between the lines there, is that the council of the day decided that, they would see how that would work. Needless to say, it didn't fix the problem as well as it should have been fixed. So I look at this project and I said, I believe we had 2 or 3 quotes on what this project would cost. And I'm not asking council to spend, let's say, the top part of it. I'm saying, even if we do it in stages or we look at it, at the end of the day, for me, it's a safety issue. And that is an extremely aggressive turn. And I just feel that it needs to be dealt with.
Okay, council, we've had the chance. Deputy Mayor Burke has had his final say on that. It's time to go to a vote. So, to begin,
I thought that the money wasn't in the budget this year, so that would be something for next year's planning? Is this how this is gonna table out here? The money to fix that road was not in the budget for this year. That's what I understood at the last meeting.
well, I'll leave that for Clerk Treasurer Cormier. What happened, I think we had this discussion with the last or the first budget meeting. The money, when we did the budget, the last budget discussion from the last council, there was some, I guess, misunderstanding, because I was asked if I wanted to leave that money in the budget. And I said yes, but either there was some misunderstanding or whatever happened, it was not included. So technically, I think it wasn't there, but it should have been there. So I really don't know how to interpret that, to be honest with you. But it's a fair question. Yeah, Clerk, okay, unless Clerk.
Yes, when they did have those discussions at the previous council, and yes, Mayor Arsenault, who was on council previous, they did ask, and they did, but when the final decision come down, I was advised they took it out. They gave me the directive that no, it wasn't going in. I recall Councillor Arsenault at the time had mentioned that it was something that he would bring back to the table again, but the council had advised to take it out, and they would have to deal with it a different way if it came back.
Okay, Councillor Guitar-Martinel, you okay with that information? Okay. So, anyway, I think we're at the point where we can take a vote on this. If we'll have to change the motion.
Just to speak to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
This was when the tender went out, and it came in with St. Isidore giving the bid. Council of the day did not award it. So once they didn't award the tender is down null and void. So in order to do it, you would have to go back out to re-tender the project again to get some bids in, because that tender is done. And once they denied awarding it, it was over, and it's quite a while since it went out. So your tender would have to be, or your motion, if you propose to make a motion, would be more that you would want to go out and re-tender and get bids in again on, if it's on the same scope of work, you would get Gem Tech to do that again, to go out to tender for you.
If that's the case, Deputy Mayor Burke, did you want to do that? Did you want to amend it so that would be going out to tender again?
Yes.
So the motion would be to send the engineering work back out to tender again.
Yep.
So here's
To
basically.
Retender.
Yeah, so here's basically how it went. So we had some work that was done and a figure came back for how much it would cost. I think at the time it was not, if I'm correct, it was around 99,000, wasn't it? Clear Treasurer Corner? 94. So, so now if we, according to Clerk Treasurer Cormier, and I think I've heard this before, we would need to, instead of awarding the work, we would actually need to go back out and get the scope of work looked at again.
Well,
Right.
the two scopes of work are there in Gemtech's engineering proposal I gave council. So if council chooses the same option,
Yeah.
they could retender that option and have Gemtech do the retendering process for them again if they
So the
wish.
scope of work go back.
If you wish to have the same scope of work as before,
Okay.
then it could be retendered again by Gemtech. There'll be a cost for them doing that as well. but
Right.
It would probably be substantial.
So Deputy Mayor Berg, is that where you want to go with this then?
Yes, Your Worship, it is.
So reword your motion, I guess.
That the scope of work for the Lawler-Mitchell Road intersection be sent out to be retendered.
Okay. So that's the new motion then. Do we have a seconder? And yeah,
Who was it?
Councillor Robinson. All those in favor say aye. Pardon me? Okay. All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, can I get the names?
Okay, do we have 3 nays to that? I'm not sure.
Maybe raise their hands.
I still have a question.
Oh, yeah, oh, well, if you have a question, go ahead.
Sorry,
We want to
this is-
make sure.
okay, so we're going out to tender again for work that was done how many years ago to be redone again? It's like a Band-Aid solution, is it?
Well, it's just that in order to fit the proper procedure, because of the amount of time that's passed by, we need to go back out to tender, so. It's the same, it's basically the same scope, which should be generally around the same price, but it's going, it's doing what we said we were going to do in the first place, but going back out to tender, so. That's what the motion is, to go back out again.
Yeah, but maybe you're not understanding what I'm saying. So we're gonna redo the work that was done how many years ago for that same spot, is what I'm saying. It's almost like a Band-Aid solution instead of doing the job right, or getting it right, or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand now what
Okay.
you're saying, yeah.
So that's my concern. We're gonna put it out there again, get it done in how many more years? Are we gonna come back to the same
Okay.
situation?
Okay, so let's, so we have two yes votes, and Councillor Guitar McDonnell, you're going on as a nay. Okay, so you have your 3 nay.
Councilor Carrier, okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm asking for a street light be added to the last pole on the Mitchell Road. There has been some activity there, and constituent just mentioned that, they have some property there, and it makes it easier for them to be able to see people coming and going. So, the addition of a street light on that pole, it's self-explanatory, so I'm going to read the motion that a street light be installed on the last pole on Mitchell Road.
Do we have any questions or comments on that?
We need a seconder for that.
Yeah, a seconder before we actually move to the question. Can I get a seconder on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Carrier. Now, on the question, do we have any questions or comments?
I was just wondering if there's anybody living at that piece of property, or is it just a piece of property they own, or?
Yeah, they're there 6 or 8 months of the year. They're not there, I don't think, in the wintertime, unless they clear the snow, but it's right there, yeah. And there is a house just before that, you know, so.
Any others? Okay. So all those in favor, do we have okay, we have a seconder. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Deputy Mayor Burke, next one.
Sorry, can I just interrupt?
Yeah.
I've just received a message that your voice is the only one that can be heard. They're not picking up anybody else's mics.
Okay, for those who are viewing, we're just having some audio issues, so if you'd bear with us, we're going to get that corrected, then we'll be back when they're corrected. Thank you.
See, it's not, that's image.
And that's kind of okay. Excuse me. By the way, tomorrow 11, I get a funeral. So that's gonna put the next to that. Okay. Claudia Moore.